0945 local time, Iranian Air Defense Command, Western Approach Sector. The S-300 operator is staring at his console and the picture has stopped making sense. 30 seconds ago, he had a clean track on a fast mover crossing in from the west. Then the return broke, then the radar itself broke. The display showed contacts that weren't there, then no contacts at all, then a fault code his training never covered. He calls it up the chain. The duty officer pulls the link from the next battery. Same picture. The Bavar 373, site 40 kilometers south. Same picture. The Khordad 15 grid covering the central corridor. The same picture. 6 air defense sites, 6 redundant systems, all of them blind at the same second. No missile track, no launch detection, no incoming aircraft on any radar in the network. Something has reached inside the entire integrated air defense system and turned it off. The duty officer has one question: what just hit us? 12 minutes later, he gets the second half of the answer. 8 strike vectors inbound from the west, already inside the engagement envelope of the systems that no longer work. The radars cannot see them. The interceptors cannot launch. The command and control network cannot tell one battery what the next battery is seeing because the network is gone. The S-300 operator has been on duty for 2 hours. 20 years of Iranian air defense doctrine is going to fail in the next 19 days while he watches 700 hours Jerusalem Prime Minister's office. The briefing slide is a single map. Iranian airspace, 85% of it shaded green. Green means the Israeli Air Force can fly there. Green means no functional radar, no interceptor coverage, no SAM envelope. 3 weeks ago, that map was 85% red. The campaign has a name, Operation Roaring Lion. And the question being asked in that room is the same question being asked in air defense headquarters from Moscow to Beijing to New Delhi. How did Israel take down a layered, redundant $20 billion integrated air defense network in 21 days? The answer is in 4 layers, and the 4th layer is something Iran's doctrine had no model for at all: the wall Iran built. To understand what Israel destroyed, you have to understand what Iran spent 20 years building. After the 2015 nuclear deal, Iran went shopping. The first stop was Moscow. The product was the S-300 PMU-2, Russian long-range surface-to-air missile, range to engage targets out past 200 kilometers, designed specifically to threaten stealth aircraft. Iran paid $1 billion in 2016 to put 4 batteries on the ground. The deal had a history. An earlier S-300 PMU-1 contract had been suspended for years under international pressure. Tehran had waited. Tehran had pushed. When the suspension lifted, the upgraded variant arrived and went straight into the Western Approach Sector. The corridor any attack from Israel would have to cross. That was Layer 1, the long-range backbone. Layer 2 was indigenous, the Bavar 373. Iranian engineers reverse-modeled it on the Russian S-400, the system Moscow would not sell them. Iran claimed counter-stealth capability. They claimed it could detect what other radars could not. The system was paraded in Tehran. The state media called it the answer to the F-35. Layer 3 was medium range. Khordad 15 batteries networked across the central corridor, the Sayyad missile family covering the gaps below that. Short to medium range interceptors layered to catch anything the long-range systems missed. Mines, swarms, missiles in the Strait of Hormuz had a doctrine. Iran's air defenses had a doctrine too: redundancy. If Israel destroyed an S-300 battery, the Bavar 373 50 kilometers east would still be tracking. If Israel destroyed the Bavar 373, the Khordad 15 would still be tracking. If Israel destroyed the Khordad 15, the Sayyad batteries would still close the gap. Every layer was supposed to buy time for the next layer, and time was the point. Time meant Iran could reposition mobile assets. Time meant Iran could reactivate damaged systems. Time meant Iran could absorb the strike and rebuild before the next wave came. The doctrine had one assumption baked into the bottom of it: that Israel would attack one layer at a time. That assumption was about to be violated in a way Iran's planners had not modeled. February 28, 2026, 9:45 a.m. Tehran time. Operation Roaring Lion opens the keys. First thing that happens is not a missile. The first thing that happens is the radar going dark. Per Times of Israel analysis published days after the operation began, Iran's S-300 and S-400 class air defense systems were effectively blinded following coordinated cyber intrusions attributed to Israel's Unit 8200 and the U.S. National Security Agency. That sentence is doing a lot of work. Two of the most capable signals intelligence organizations on Earth working as one team, reaching into the integrated air defense network of a state actor and switching the lights off. Unit 8200 is not a small organization. It is the largest single unit in the Israel Defense Forces. Its mandate is signals intelligence, cryptanalysis, and offensive cyber. The NSA needs no introduction. The two services have collaborated on Iranian targets for over a decade. Stuxnet was the public example. Roaring Lion was a different category of operation entirely, not a covert sabotage of a single facility, but a coordinated takedown of an entire integrated air defense network at the moment of strike. The radars are not jammed. Jamming you can detect. Jamming creates noise. The Iranian operators are not seeing noise. They are seeing fault codes. They are seeing systems that do not respond. They are seeing the network refuse to talk to itself. That was minute zero. Minute one was the drone swarm. The Israeli Air Force called it Scorpion Strike, a formation of drones launched against the Western Approach sector, saturating the sensor grids that were still functional, overwhelming the radar operators who were still trying to work around the cyber damage, forcing the system to spend its remaining attention on cheap targets while the expensive targets were already inbound. Then the F-35I Adirs crossed the line. Stealth, first wave, deep strike, high-value radar sites, long-range SAM systems, command nodes. The targets had been mapped for years by Israeli intelligence. The aircraft had been training for these specific strikes. The pilots flew profiles that exploited gaps the cyber attack had just created. Behind the F-35Is came the F-16I Sufas, carrying the weapon that finished the architecture. Rampage, standoff missile, 150-kilogram warhead, range out to 250 kilometers, quasi-ballistic trajectory designed specifically to defeat the medium-range interceptors Iran had purpose-built to catch incoming missiles. Programmable impact profile, anti-jamming features. Per Army recognition, Rampage is optimized for fixed high-value targets such as radar sites, hardened command posts, ammunition depots, and airfield infrastructure. It was the operational answer to Iran's IADS. Launched from outside Iranian SAM coverage, it flew a profile no Iranian medium-range interceptor was designed to defeat. Within 15 minutes of strike commencement, per published analysis, Iran's integrated air defense network was in disarray. Cyber, drones, stealth, standoff, 4 layers all at once. Iran's redundancy doctrine assumed the layers would be hit sequentially. They were not. The ghost weapon, reveal Operation Roaring Lion, was not one weapon. It was a chain, and the chain only worked because every link arrived in the same window. Layer 1, Cyber, Unit 8200. Minute. The Iranian S-300PMU-2 has a published radar performance specification. Russian engineers built it. Iranian operators trained on it. The system is networked to a command and control architecture that ties the long-range backbone to the medium-range Bavar 373 and the Khordad 15 grid below that. Networks have entry points. Unit 8200 is the Signals Intelligence Directorate of the Israel Defense Forces. The U.S. National Security Agency is its American counterpart. They have been working Iranian air defense systems for years. Not days, not months, years. When the operation opened, the work was already done. The intrusions were already in place. The kinetic strike was the trigger that activated cyber effects already pre-positioned inside the network. The S-300 operator who reported for duty at first light on February 28th did not know any of this. He saw a radar that worked at the start of his shift. He saw a radar that did not work 15 minutes later. He had no way to know the cause was a software intrusion sitting inside a system Russia had assured Iran was secure. Layer 1 took the radars offline. That was the entire point. Stealth aircraft are stealth. Against radar, switch the radar off, and the stealth doesn't have to defeat anything. Layer 2, drones, Scorpion Strike, minute 1. The drones come in low and cheap and many. Iran's air defense operators are trained to engage targets. That's the job. A drone at low altitude and slow speed is still a target. The radar operators who still have functional systems start engaging. Interceptors leave the rails. Sensor attention focuses on the swarm. Every minute the swarm is being engaged is a minute the high-value targets behind the swarm are not. Iran's interceptor inventory is finite. The drones are not. The swarm exists to make the system spend ammunition on cheap problems while the expensive problems close the distance. Layer 2 saturates the grid. That is Layer 2's only job. Layer 3, stealth. F-35 IADR, minute 5. The F-35 has a radar cross-section measured in hundredths of a square meter. Even against a fully functional Iranian air defense system, getting a stable track on the aircraft would have been hard. Against an Iranian air defense system that has been blinded by cyber attack and saturated by drone swarm, there is no track at all. The Adirs cross the western approach. They climb into the engagement envelope of the systems that should be killing them. The systems do nothing because the systems can't see them. The high-value targets get hit first. Long-range radar arrays, command nodes, the systems Israel needs gone before any non-stealth aircraft can operate freely. Per Army recognition, an Israeli F-35I, supported by standoff precision-guided munitions and electronic warfare, destroyed an Iranian S-300 U-2 battery during the campaign. A strike the publication described as a demonstration of networked warfare and real-time intelligence fusion in overcoming modern air defense systems. The S-300 was the system Iran paid Russia $1 billion to acquire. It was destroyed by the aircraft Russia could not sell Iran a counter for. Layer 4, standoff. F-16I Sufa, Rampage, minute 7. The fixed sites that survive the first 3 layers do not survive the 4th. The F-16I Sufas launch Rampage from outside Iranian engagement range. The missile flies a quasi-ballistic profile designed to complicate interception. The warhead is optimized for hardened targets. The fixed radar arrays, the hardened command post, the airfield infrastructure, all of it is engaged from outside the SAM envelope by a missile Iran had no answer to. Now run all 4 simultaneously and look at what Iran's defense commanders were facing. The radars don't work. The drones are eating the interceptor inventory. The aircraft they need to track are stealth and inside. The fixed sites they need to defend are being killed from outside their own engagement range. Every layer of Iran's redundancy doctrine assumed Israel would be solving one problem at a time. Israel solved all 4 at the same moment. The IDF subsequently released footage of the Israeli Air Force targeting dozens of Iranian air defense systems during Operation Roaring Lion. That phrase, dozens of systems, is the operational measure of how thoroughly the redundancy doctrine collapsed. You do not destroy dozens of redundant air defense systems sequentially in 19 days. You destroy them in coordinated waves where every wave hits multiple sites. By the 3rd week of the operation, the Alma Research and Education Center published its assessment: 80 to 85% of Iran's air defenses destroyed. The Foundation for Defense of Democracies confirmed the same number on March 19th. There is a single fact about what happened to Iran's Air Force that says more than any battle damage assessment. Before Operation Epic Fury, the Iranian Air Force was conducting between 30 and 100 flights per day. Per the official White House release announcing the ceasefire, that number is now 0. Not reduced, not degraded, 0. Iran's Air Force is not flying because Iran has no functional air defense to protect them, no functional command and control to coordinate them, no functional airfields to launch them from. The IDF struck Iranian fighters on runways before takeoff. Israeli F-35 is shot down Iranian YS-130 trainer aircraft in the air. Israeli F-16 Isufis with Rampage missiles destroyed the radar sites that would have warned Iranian pilots they were being hunted. The Air Force Iran spent decades building was rendered functionally non-existent in 3 weeks. That is what an integrated air defense network failing means. It is not just radars going down, it is the entire air component of a state military going dark. Because every aircraft on the ground depends on the radar that no longer works to know what is coming for it. The numbers and the paradox. The operational numbers from Roaring Lion are publicly available now. Approximately 5,700 combat sorties flown. More than 540 strike waves conducted, 80 to 85% of Iranian air defense architecture destroyed, radars, interceptors, detection systems, command nodes, all of it. 5,700 sorties in 19 days is a rate of roughly 300 combat sorties per day, sustained around the clock across an airspace defended by the most expensive integrated air defense network in the Middle East outside of Israel itself. 540 strike waves means the campaign was not built around single target raids. It was built around package after package of coordinated strikes, each package designed to hit multiple sites simultaneously to keep the redundancy doctrine collapsed. By March 4th, per General Kane, the United States had localized air superiority across the southern Iranian coast. By March 19th, A-10 Warthogs were openly hunting Iranian fast attack craft in the Strait of Hormuz. The A-10 is a slow, low-altitude aircraft. It survives in airspace that does not contain a functional medium-range air defense network. The fact that A-10s were operating openly over the southern coast was itself a battle damage assessment. The campaign was a textbook execution of suppression and destruction of enemy air defenses, applied at industrial scale, compressed into weeks instead of months, but the collapse was not absolute. Per the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and TWZ analysis, even after 85% destruction, Iran was not under total air dominance, particularly across the northeastern end of the country. Iran retained road-mobile air defenses, man-pads, what one analyst called more exotic types that can pop up virtually anywhere and give air crews very little time to react. On March 19th, a USAF F-35A made an emergency landing after reportedly taking enemy fire, per CN sources, not officially confirmed by CENTCOM. If accurate, the incident demonstrates that residual Iranian air defense capability survived 3 weeks of systematic destruction. The collapse was systemic. It was not absolute. That distinction matters. Resolution and forward threat. Per the April 19th SOF news update, U.S. intelligence assessed that Iran retained approximately 60% of its ballistic and cruise missile launcher capacity even after Operation Epic Fury concluded. The air defense destruction was decisive. The missile launcher destruction was not. Iran cannot defend its airspace. But Iran can still threaten regional targets with the launchers it has left. That is the residual problem. That is what Iran will rebuild around. Per FDD analysis, the destruction of Iran's IADS is rewriting the rules of war against integrated air defense networks. Every nation operating S-300, S-400, Bavar 373 derivative or similar layered defenses, Russia, China, India, Turkey, Belarus, Algeria, North Korea, Venezuela, is observing the collapse and asking the same question: can our network be taken down the same way? The lesson from Roaring Lion is uncomfortable for every country that has bought into the layered redundancy model. A network designed to absorb sequential attack does not absorb simultaneous attack. Cyber, drones, stealth, and standoff arriving in the same window collapses redundancy because every redundant layer is being engaged at the same moment by a different vector. There is no time to reposition mobile assets. There is no time to reactivate damaged systems. There's no time to do anything the doctrine assumed there would be time for. Russia is watching this. China is watching this. The S-400 batteries in Belarus, in Algeria, in Turkey, Every one of them was sold on a doctrine that just got broken in 21 days over Iranian airspace. The S-400 is the export weapon of Russian air defense diplomacy. It is the system Moscow uses to bind buyers into the Russian defense orbit. Every customer paid in part for the doctrine that came with it, that a layered, redundant architecture built around the S-400 backbone could deny air superiority to any opponent, including the United States, including Israel, including any operator of the F-35. Roaring Lion did not destroy an S-400. Iran did not have one. Iran had the S-300 PMU-2 and the indigenous Bavar 373 reverse-modeled on the S-400. But the doctrine the two systems were sold on, that doctrine has now been tested in real combat against the F-35, against standoff stealth strike, against coordinated cyber and kinetic effects. The doctrine lost. Iran spent 20 years building a wall of radar to defeat stealth. Israel took it down in 21 days. The next country building that same wall is going to learn a different lesson. The question is whether they learn it before the next campaign starts or after.